Congratulations! You're listening to Real True Facts, a podcast dedicated to finding the realest, truest facts out there. Because just because you read it or hear it doesn't mean it's true. We're back at it again this week. My name is Tiffany Flintstone.
And I am Mark Cohen. Not that one.
But I am the Tiffany Flintstone, so just so you know. Today, our show is a spooky show today. I'm so excited about it. We are talking about shadows and shadow people.
Ooh.
It is a really, really spooky show today, and I am here for it. I love the spooky stuff.
Yeah, sometimes the truth is spooky. So, last time we spoke about some interesting things, not necessarily spooky, but still disheartening, still a little crazy. So, if you need to cuddle up to a loved one or hold hands, whatever you need to do, take warning.
Yeah. Spooky show today. But first, let's go around the world. Let's get into our headlines.
Okay, so some interesting things in the news. First of all, we like to cover our Bigfoot sightings, and unfortunately, there was a hoax in our midst.
Oh,
yeah. I don't like it, but it happens. So it turns out that this in Oklahoma, some of the Bigfoot sightings were actually it was actually just a public service announcement to get people to stay away from each other due to the COVID-19.
What? That's stupid.
Yeah, it is. And what it really does is it illegitimizes the real Bigfoot sightings.
Yeah. Yeah, it really does, because that work that people do for Bigfoot and for bringing awareness, conservation for Bigfoot, his privacy, that is the real stuff that we need to be focusing on. We don't need to be focusing on hoaxes. It just makes everything that we're working towards just kind of seem moot.
I don't care if it's, if it's a marketing campaign, a clever marketing campaign, you're just being disrespectful to a highly endangered species.
Yeah.
Animals are people too, right?
Yeah.
And a dog saw a ghost in Louisiana. There was a video online, and I don't know what else a dog could be scared of other than a ghost being person. I mean, try and think of another explanation for that.
I can't, because dogs aren't scared of anything. Like, you turn on the vacuum, nothing. Balloons, nothing. Dogs are unflappable. They are just steely-eyed.
Stoic.
Yeah,
stoic
completely
even.
stoic. Like, you throw a ball, nothing. So it just really confuses me why a dog would be afraid of anything other than a ghost, just because it's like it rocks their soul. It reaches in from the inside out. So, yeah, totally. I think a ghost would have that capabilities, but animals are attuned to the world around us in a way that we can't comprehend. And
yeah, it's like children, babies, children, animals, and sometimes old people.
Sometimes adults. So,
right, but other than that, no one else really.
That's it.
It's as finely attuned. And so, moving away from that, we have a couple new UFO sightings or lights, in the sky that obviously aren't humans. We have some stuff right here in the heartland of the country, Detroit and Cleveland. Did you happen to see this? Did you see these lights in the sky?
I did. I took a look at it. Man, I just it looks super legit. Like, I don't know what else it could be.
Yeah, and the thing is, it's not just happening here in the U.S. There's a dash cam video from South Korea, right?
Yeah.
That's a different country entirely from what I'm told.
It's the same lights.
Well, they're lights in the sky.
So they're the same.
Yeah, you can't make that stuff up.
Yeah.
I don't know how else you're going to produce lights in the sky.
No clue. And it's a dash cam, so that's super reliable. They always catch everything. They catch traffic accidents and car crashes, and I've seen meteors come down that dash cams have conveniently captured, and so we have video proof. I don't know what more people need. I don't know why they're still in denial about these things in our world and in our skies. It's like the footage is there.
It's there. Yeah, the truth is there. Just, just watch one of the videos, right?
Yeah. There is. There was another headline that you sent me earlier saying that it was physicists still don't know what reality is.
Oh, did you read that?
I did.
Okay, I'm glad you did, because I did not. I thought it looked interesting, but it was actually published by a reputable source, and I don't know. It just what did you get from it?
I got really defensive. That's what I got from it, because it's like physicists still don't know what reality is. It's like
they should, right?
Me too. You ain't special. Like,
if anyone knows, it should be physicists and us and humans in general.
Yeah. So I think that's ultimately a problem. I mean, we could delve deep into what reality is, but I mean, look in front of you. That what we're living is real. You know, what we can touch
may
is
or
real.
may not be reality. That's a good place to start. Look in front of you.
Yeah.
I mean, so since you actually read it, maybe we should keep in mind any questions that came from physicists when we touch base with the doctor later in this episode.
Yes, I definitely read it. I read the whole thing, and
right.
It was long, and I read it.
Right. That's just one more reason I did not. Long articles are often false.
Right.
That's one thing I found out. A lot of times it's, the longer it is, the less accurate it is.
And I use myself as an example, because in high school, the longer my essays were, the more full of bullshit they were. I was just trying to fill pages, like I didn't read the book. If I read something, boom, I could summarize it in a paragraph. Done. Get in and out.
What else do you need? What else? What more are you saying?
What else do you need to know? If I didn't know what it was, like I felt like I was vamping, like I was on the piano, like do 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 do, like
you're right, vamping, piano vamping.
Let's just keep going. I have no idea,
like the jazz music, right? Like the jazz music.
Did I read As I Lay Dying? No. What was it about? I don't know, but I wrote 4 pages on it.
I have no idea what that is, Tiffany, but it sounds interesting. It sounds super interesting.
It was, and that was my reality. So
you're just so well read.
So at the front and the back of the book, let me tell you.
Right. So, that's some of the latest current events.
And I'm still really upset about this whole Bigfoot thing.
It's going to take a while for all of us. I'll keep monitoring the situation.
Please do.
And if our viewers out there have any questions or information, please hit us up at what's that email address?
realtruefactsmail@gmail.com. Any of your questions, any of your Bigfoot sightings, any of your Bigfoot outreach programs, please let me know. I think it's a travesty that Mr. Foot was used as a social media ploy to encourage social distancing. I think it really invalidates the struggles that conservationists go through now to keep Bigfoot safe and to bring awareness to his environment.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
And we'll certainly remind you of that email address later in the show. But I think it's important to mention it multiple times, because we'd love to hear from you regarding all of these issues. Any and all of these.
Yep. So today's topic is all about shadows.
Oh man, I love shadows.
We are getting spooky today. All about shadows. Last week at the end of our episode, we had a great reader question from Dylan S. He wanted to know what a shadow was, why we can't interact with it, dark matter, all that good stuff. So we're going to delve into that today. What is a shadow? We are talking all about shadows today, and then we're going to get really, really spooky, and we are going to talk about shadow people. And we've got
that's one of my favorite aspects of shadows. There's the people cast the shadows and all that stuff, but shadow people, for me, that's where it's at.
That's where we're going to get the real truth here, with a special little guest later here. So let's start out. Let me call up Dr. Semore from the lab. I got a hack.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we're going to go right to the lab and check in. Maybe we can start off with some shadow facts.
Oh, yeah. I'm hacking the mainframe. Let me bring Dr. Semore in
I never appreciate that enough.
From the bunker, the science bunker. Dr. Semore, are you with us?
Yes, I'm here. Hello.
Oh, I'm glad you could join us from the bunker.
Oh, yeah.
How are you? Is everything holding up bunker-wise and otherwise?
Yes, the supplies are still holding up here, and we're doing great in the bunker.
Wonderful.
Good. Strong portcullis will do that.
So, Dr. Semore, shadow people. You are our scientist. Can you remind everyone what your credentials are to be talking about shadows today?
I did some PhD work at the University of South America in geometrical, 3-dimensional, and 4-dimensional optics, and also have a master's in color linguistics.
Ooh. So perfect. Please enlighten us with all of your knowledge. Can you tell us exactly what a shadow is? That was the first part of our listener question.
Yeah, let's start it off like what is a shadow in its most basicest and simplest terms for the lay persons out there?
In the most simple form, in the way that we consider light and dark and shadows, we could say that a shadow is just the absence of light or the blocking of light. So
interesting, yeah.
Light travels in rays, it travels in straight lines, and if you get in the way, it's got to go around you, and it doesn't have that ability to sneak back in. So where it can't sneak in, we got a shadow. You would treat your ray or line as a vector. And we always simplify it for the lay people. And, it's in 2 dimensions. Every now and then we get fancy and go to 3 dimensions. But I'm quite confident that when we start talking about shadow people, we are going to the interface of an additional form of media in which a minimum of a 4-vector notation is going to be absolutely necessary.
Right. That's what I was thinking myself, but I'm glad you stated that for the lay persons.
I also knew that. Just felt like I needed to tell you that. Why can't we?
A refresher never hurts. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. So why can't we interact with shadows from a scientific point of view?
Yeah. Why can't I reach out and touch a shadow, Doctor?
The challenge there is the same reason you can't reach out and touch light. So we could touch a light bulb if we were feeling a little silly. We could touch a candle and hopefully learn a lesson from that. But the light that they produce, you can't touch. Now imagine try to touch something that isn't there from a thing that you can't touch.
Whoa!
Yeah.
Wow. I just tried imagining that, and that is not easy.
That kind of breaks my brain a little bit.
Wow.
And
wow.
Yeah. So I was just sorry. I just I went in a really no pun intended dark place. And then I started thinking about Peter Pan when he lost his shadow and he had to glue it back on his feet. It's
I'm not familiar with the type of thing you're speaking of. Yeah. Is that
Dr. Semore, do you know what I'm talking about?
That's a movie, right, Tiffany?
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about? You've seen Peter Pan, right? The cartoon? He loses his shadow.
It's a cartoon movie, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
You know what? Listeners, just could you email us and back me up here that in Peter Pan, he loses his shadow and then he's got to sew it back onto his feet and then it pops up on the wall. I'm not making this up.
I'm not doubting you. I'm just not familiar with whatever it is you're talking about. I'm not saying it's not true. I've heard much, much stranger things. Trust me.
Sure. Well, Dr. Semore, that's just a wonderful explanation about shadows and what they mean to us. We're going to bring in a special guest because we are talking about shadows today, and we are talking about shadow people. So let's take a quick break. When we come back, we are going to delve deep into the spooky, dooky world of shadow people.
We'll be right back, folks.
Welcome back to Real True Facts, the Real True podcast. We are talking today about shadows and shadow people. And right now, I would
Yes.
love to introduce our special guest. He is a self proclaimed free spirit. His name is Rodano Montalbano. He is here to tell us about his actual encounters and experiences with shadow people. So, Rod, are you here? Can I call you Rod?
No, you cannot. Hi, Rodolno Montalbano here. That's right, I'm a free spirit. I live freely, and I see shadow people.
What? Wow.
Great. Thanks for coming out. I'm really excited to hear your thoughts on shadows made of people or people made of shadows. I'm not sure, so that's why I'm hoping get some insight here.
Can you take us through like what happens?
Well, absolutely. To begin with, what you just said are two very different classes. There are, in fact, shadow people made of shadows. There are also shadow people, which are shadows made of people. You see.
Oh, okay.
It's actually quite offensive to call one of the other type the other type.
I'm glad I apologized earlier because I knew I was going to offend someone or I almost said something, and that might be offensive in itself.
Well,
so when did you first notice you had this ability, if that's the right word for it?
Absolutely. I would call it a gift. I would call it a great gift, one that I cherish and treasure. And it first started... well, there I was, about 4 weeks into a methamphetamine microdose session.
So you were how old then? Was this like 3 or 4? What are we talking here?
No. I never touched the stuff until I was 7.
Oh.
Okay.
And as you know, microdosing is the hot new thing all around Silicon Valley, all around under the bridges. Everyone's microdosing. So I was trying it out, and 4 weeks went by perfectly normal. And then like that, bam, I could start seeing the shadow people.
Wow. So what, paint a picture for us. What does a shadow people look like?
Well, the first thing that you notice about a shadow person is that they are very, very dark. They're like not real people. They don't have features. They don't have genders. I heard you discussing that earlier.
Oh, thank goodness.
But they are humanoid, and you can only see them out of the corner of your eye.
Okay. So, all right. I just thought of something. What about what about the other senses? Can you hear them or smell them?
Well,
I don't know about taste, but let's start with those two.
Absolutely. I mean, they sound like underlying dread and terror. It's sort of a low hum of dread and tension in a room. And they smell like lilac.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's refreshing.
If you ever catch a whiff of lilac in the air, chances are there's shadow people near.
Oh, man. I feel like that happens to me all the time.
Well, naturally, they're all around you all the time. You just can't see them.
That's comforting, maybe?
So, should we be worried? Are they dangerous?
You sound like a really happy guy. Like, are you scared at all when you encounter these things?
Well, I would say that I'm scared about 80% of the time. It's really, truly terrifying, maddening even when you encounter a shadow person, because your mind literally rebels against the concept. It drives you insane.
Oh.
Yeah. And some of them are okay. Some of them are neutral. Some of them are malevolent. And others still are kind of flirty.
Ooh, tell me about the flirty ones.
That's interesting. How does flirting work without gender?
Well, just because there aren't gender doesn't mean that there isn't desire. And so a shadow person, a figure, might flirt with you. You'll notice the smell of lilacs. That's how you know things are horribly wrong. And then out of the corner of your eye, you'll just get a little flash, just a little wisp of like a wink and a whisper. But not like an audible whisper, but like a shadow visual whisper.
Yeah, you can feel it.
Feel the sexual
flirty
tension.
whisper.
Here's what people don't realize about the shadow people is that shadow people have existed for all of time. They are known as demons, as ghosts, as spirits, as crystal ghouls, as hallucinatory
Sure.
monsters, as sleep
Sure,
paralysis
yeah.
vampire, succubi.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They are known as the establishment, the man,
Mm-hmm.
the security, the well
Right.
wishers, the people who are working behind the scenes to
Of
grant
course.
wishes, but also fuck things up for you.
Oh,
Ah.
You know, like whenever you misplace your glasses, that was a shadow person.
well,
Mm-hmm. Oh. I knew I wasn't just misplacing my glasses. I had a feeling.
Oh, absolutely.
sometimes.
Feelings are all we have when it comes to shadow people because you can't measure them.
Right. You
Can't measure them.
let's bring in
Interesting.
Dr. Seymour. Any confirmation about being able to measure a shadow person's presence at all? We talked about sleep paralysis. Obviously, that's something that has to do with the brain, and I want to say the soul. I think your soul leaves your body when you sleep. I read that somewhere. Can
Brains?
you
Mhm.
confirm that?
The easiest tool that we have in the scientific community would be a refractometer, because a shadow person would have a different refractive index from the surrounding environment. And if we're not familiar with what that is, it's just to say, like, as light travels from the air to the water, we've all placed a spoon in a glass of water and it looks broken or bent.
Of course.
A similar idea as the light goes through that media, which I believe is potentially where the name originated, or I may be way off on that, is that because there is a being there is an existence there that is different than air, we would be able to measure a difference in the way the light travels through it that our eye may not be attuned to, that our other senses have learned with the smell. As we heard several times there, we don't want to get into taste on this because there's there are way more than the salty, sweet umami flavors once you get into 4, 5, and 6 dimensions that we choose to ignore. But we said light couldn't bend because it was a line. Well, shadow people bend light.
I have an even bigger question. This is for Rodolno. Have you seen Peter Pan?
I have not seen it, but I am familiar with it. A fairy, a boy, a shadow. It's a beautiful story of childhood innocence.
So you know the scene I'm talking about when he loses his shadow, and that's how he ends up in Wendy's room because
no, that sounds made up.
No, because the shadow falls off, and I think he's like going to use. Well, this is like the Mary Martin one that I'm drawing one, because he tries to use soap or something to like stick it back on his feet, and then he's got to sew it back on. And come on, you guys know what I'm talking about?
No.
It's not that that it's necessarily not true. It's just I'm not familiar with this story or whatever it may be.
Rodolno, will you walk us through an actual shadow person encounter? If we've never had them before, what are other than like the smells and the sights and kind of the overall feeling, what is something that a person can experience with this?
You can experience lightheadedness, redness in the face, a flushing of the chest, sort of shallow breathing, all signs of strain, stress, or anxiety. You will start to evacuate your bowels naturally.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You will become engorged and encompassed by fear.
Right.
And,
Wow.
sometimes the fear is warranted and sometimes it's not. For instance, my last encounter, I was terrified of the shadow person that I saw in the corner of my eye with their fiery red glowing eyes. And then when I tried to communicate with him in my paralysis state by fluttering my eyes at him or it just magically poofed away. And that was it.
Wow. Where was this?
Wow.
This was in a dark bunker after another microdosing methamphetamine session.
Okay, so it was a dark area. Okay, so kind of a dark.
I'm just going to go out on a limb here, and this does not discredit your experience at all. But do you think this has anything at all to do with the fact that you were in a bunker?
Well, listen. When you've been dealing with shadow people as much as I have, you learn that everything's connected. So absolutely, the bunker was definitely part of it.
I'm not the expert on this, so let's ask Dr. Semore again. Let's have a scientist give us some tips, give us some survival tips, and I'll just open it up to you guys that have experienced the shadow people. What are the next steps? What do we do now that we know that these are all around us all the time?
I think from a scientific method, the next step is after you are aware of something, you follow the scientific method. You ask questions, you look for testable hypotheses, you follow through. So we are aware of the existence. The most logical approach next would be a analytical study, potentially following a loose version of the Summerfield Runge method. To study zero wavelength objects, and realize that went over a few heads there, but basically, we want to recognize that although we are not observing them in the traditional sense of sight, that there are visions of them that can become a part of our experience. And the more carefully you look for the opportunity to see that experience, you make a hypothesis about what that experience will be, and then you either use the results to confirm or to disprove your hypothesis. The more you can move forward with that.
That's beautiful.
Right. Makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense. A lot of good sense.
Well, with all due respect, Dr. Semore, I'm going to have to disagree entirely. Shadow people don't like questions. They hate hypotheses. They hate scientific rigor and logic. They just really don't respond well to it.
Wow, sassy shadow people.
I tried to ask a shadow person a scientific question once, and the result was me, again, defecating myself and being paralyzed for at least 3 hours.
Sure. There's going to be some defecation. That's understood. And understandable, right?
I asked the shadow person why he be like that so much.
All right, because you don't know that he always be, but sometimes they do.
Always, sometimes.
We do have to remember
why
that.
He be like that? Yeah, but he do. They do. And
Dr. Semore, do it be like that sometimes?
The thing with this method is, if it be like that or not, even when it is not like that, we can move forward with our study, knowing more.
So in itself, we learned that in response to a question comes anger and defecation. So that's just one more new piece of this puzzle. Interesting. So we can learn from things that, at first glance, we think may not be a learning experience. Interesting.
And that's science in a nutshell.
That's what I like to promote on this show is, you may think you're just defecating, but you're really learning too.
Oh, man, ain't that the truth? So, man, this is good stuff. Good stuff today. I'm going to go ahead and close it out. I think we still have much to learn about shadow people and really the world around us and science in general. There's really no definite answers here, but I think that just opens up new pathways to discovery. And isn't that what we are all about? But I think unequivocally we can say, yes, shadow people are real. And I want to thank Mr. Ronaldo Montalbano. And thank you for sharing your experiences today. Do you have anything else you want to add?
Any final musings or thoughts?
Before we drop you off?
Oh, no. Thank you. It was a pleasure sharing my experience with shadow people with you. If you would like to, please follow me. I'm not on social media, but just follow me around, see what it's like.
Sure.
And I hope that you have a wonderful shadowy time.
Oh, thank you.
No,
what
a sweetheart. What a sweetheart. Dr. Semore, anything else you want to add?
No.
Great. Let's close up the science bunker. I'll download the mainframe to shut it off.
And one last reminder, if you've encountered shadow people, please let us know about it. Send us an email, drop us a line. We'd be happy to hear about it. Please tell us about shadow people or anything else you may have encountered.
Yes. I think that's a perfect segue to go into mail. We have some viewer mail, our favorite part of the night. We can kind of decompress from all of our serious debating. Got kind of hot there for a second.
Yeah, and I like it because it lets us know we're making a difference, right? When we hear responses from real people, it lets us know that that we're making a difference. They're listening. They want to be a part of a dialogue rather than a monologue. The best way to reach us is email, right? And what's that email address again?
Email is realtruefactsmail@gmail.com. You can send us an email. We have a few messages today. We've got a comment. I do love comments. And we have a question too. So we'll set that up for next week as well. So our comment here, a really wonderful compliment. This is from Dale S. Dale S. says, "We love your insight. We always suspected birds were watching us." That was from our last episode. We talked all about how birds are not real, how they are government surveillance drones. We love your insight. We always suspected birds were watching us. Thank you, Dale S. And we are also going to continue to monitor the situation of being monitored. For listeners just joining us, I made contact with a bird drone. I let it into my bunker. So I think next week I'm going to plug them in. We're going to read some codes. We're going to figure out what the drone is doing, and that'll be fun.
This is all new to me. This is exciting.
I thought this would be a fun surprise to give you. And then our question today comes from Kelsey M. She asks, "Why are cats what? Girl, learn how to spell." She says, "What are cats' correlation to the pyramids? Are they sentient beings sent from the greater beyond?" The pyramids.
Thanks for that question, Kelsey.
Yeah, let's get into the pyramids. Let's get into cats. I mean, we've got this whole deal about animals that we're rocking with here, but correlation to the pyramids, I think we can get in on that. What say you, Mark?
Wow, pyramids. I'm just sorry. The gears get turning when I think about pyramids. Because it's aliens. Did they build them? Did the aliens build them here? Did they build them in space and bring them down? Were they built by? Were the aliens who built them? Did they look like cats? Did they not? Or did they just like them? They do look cool, so maybe that's just part of the aesthetic. Oh man, there's a lot to unravel and to unpack.
I think we can really get into it next week and have a lot of fun with that one. So yes, if you would like to ask us a question to be explored on the show, you can email us again, realtruefactsmail@gmail. And we'll feature the hell out of you. So I want to say thank you to our guest today. Thank you to our listeners. We will see you next time, folks. Keep questioning your world and join us next time for more Real True Facts. I am Tiffany Flintstone.
I'm Mark Cohen, not that one. Be sure to check out all our future episodes on Apple iTunes, the Play Store, Spotify, and anywhere you find your favorite podcasts.
Bye-bye.